So while he's putting it together, I actually structured my presentation in two parts. One was to talk about the social entrepreneurship space through my, experience. Maybe that will help. Maybe it's obvious, but I've been associated with Jagriti Yatra since its beginning. I was a volunteer from the start for the team. It's a very good team, and it's been nearly 11 years now I've been volunteering for it. And through there was where my baby was born, which is Shekru. And so I'll structure the presentation in two parts. I'll talk about Jagriti Yatra. We'll see a little video about Jagriti Yatra, and then we'll, quickly go through what Shekru is. So I'll show a quick 3-minute video on Jagriti Yatra. Go ahead. So you'll get an idea of what Jagriti Yatra is. PowerPoint ऑपरेट करने के लिए किधर करने का पावर have to go back. Okay, there's some animation there, little bit.
हाँ, will do.
Okay.
आप कर सकते हैं, बशर्ते कि एक बार वो लक्ष्य तय कर लीजिए।
Just audio visually, I put it started. So I was going to put it in the middle, but it's still there.
I would like to be on this one.
Are you sure? Come this time. So we did 11 years last year. It's every December 24th. It starts from Mumbai and it ends back in Mumbai after 15 days. So that is Jagriti Yatra. It's a social entrepreneurship event. It's a train journey. We take about 500 youths around the country who are interested to do, who are passionate about doing some kind of social entrepreneurship, going back to their towns and villages and starting there. In 7 verticals of healthcare, agriculture, manufacturing, education, ICT, so different sectors we have. So today's presentation, what I'm going to talk about is the social entrepreneurship landscape, since I've been associated with a ecosystem of social entrepreneurship for the last 11 years. And my just observations, I just picked some things that I thought might be useful in case, if it's familiar, sorry about that. And then Jagriti Yatra video we've already seen. And then, my journey with Shekru so far and my learnings from it. So the landscape, I wanted to talk about all the events that are happening in case people, know which are the key events, the support system, what are the models out there, and what role the social entrepreneur is playing today. So events like I did Jagriti Yatra, we already looked. There's something called a Shodh Yatra. I don't know how many people are aware of Shodh Yatra. Professor Anil Gupta from IIM runs it. I've been on it once in Mizoram, and it is something that everybody should do once. We walk to villages 20 kilometers a day looking at innovations and creativity that people come up with. So in winter, we go to the cold places. In summer, we go to the hot places. In harsh environments, how do people deal with their local conditions, whether it's a water shortage, what kind of innovations, local innovations that they come up with, micro innovations, maybe bringing water up, through a pipe, through a pump, whatever way they want to. So that's a Shodh Yatra. It happens twice a year, in the summer and the winter. Please do check it out. One of the things to do. Sankalp is by Avishkar and Intellicap Ventures. It's one of the biggest gathering for the social impact sector. There are a lot of impact investors that come, and it's a great event to just get in, gate crash. I've gate crashed a couple of times. I didn't have an invite, so it's a pretty cool thing that happens. The XLRI one I've not been, but Professor Madhukar Shukla attracts a good crowd of social entrepreneurs, and that's a yearly event as well. CSR Summit, I list this out because these are places where social entrepreneurs get to meet all the stakeholders in one place, and that has been a big benefit for me at least. So just thought I'll go through. So why do we go to why do we go to the events? We do the network, we keep up, we find team members there, recruitment, and new ideas, of course. So the support system out there for entrepreneurs today, if you're an individual, there are a lot of fellowship programs. This is a cross-section of the fellowship programs. Chief Minister Fellow that's happening in Maharashtra is really cool. I've been associated with them for a little bit, seen them in action. I encourage a lot of my friends to apply for it as well. It's a 1-year immersion program in a village, and you get to work with all the key stakeholders trying to solve local village problems. And there's also a lot of commitment from the establishment and the administration to support these fellows to be successful. So it goes mutual. There's a lot of experience. So that is just one of the fellows. This is a support system that is out there right now for entrepreneurs who are just taking a step out. And why should they do this? Because it gives for them an immersion. Somebody else is paying for it. You get to validate your idea, as well as new ideas come up. And so I tell a lot of people who come to Jagriti Yatra saying that if you have not decided which way you want to go, you're not sure, take a fellow program for a year, 6 months, 3 months, whichever one of these fellowships is, and then try out your idea, validate your idea. So once they do that, once they do that, then what is the next step? Do you want to be on your own, or do you want to attach yourself to an incubator? There's also a big award circuit out there. There are a lot of startup events that give awards, competitions. So that might be some way of at least validating the idea and taking the next step with a little bit of money that you can win an award, or some recognition that they give you some money as a prize. Then of course, once you've done that, you can attach yourself to an incubator. There's a cross section of incubators. There's Atal Incubation Center cropping up everywhere, and the government is also pushing it in various institutions. Then after that, once an incubator, or maybe if the incubator is not there, there are some seed funders. I've listed 3 of them here: Ankur Capital, Wilgrow, Avishkar, where they give you a little bit of money to take you to the next step. Unlimited is also there. I didn't list that here, but that is one of the other ones. So why would you go to an incubator? There are various reasons people would go to an incubator. Now I'm looking to go to an incubator as well, because I want to work with the government. And what I'm seeing lately is that working alone, it's very difficult. It's better you go with a institution and get their connections. And I've seen that incubators are providing those connections pretty seamlessly. So I've been looking around for incubator that can fit what I'm doing, my focus, and where I am in my journey at this point. So of course they give mentors. Some of them give financial support. Some of them take a stake like a 6% or a 10%, but it all varies. It's all across the place. The communities that I tell people, if you're passionate about the sector or the cause you're in, you have to be in the communities and know what is going on. You have to, be, up to date what is happening and what are the latest and the greatest. So the online communities are listed. There's so much going on. If you pick nutrition, you've got a whole list of people very active on nutrition and Twitter, in Facebook group, or a podcast. There's just a lot of content, but people have to be, if they're passionate about a sector or a vertical and where they're basing their idea, I say that this is great because it's, it's awareness. It's also skill building. When you start engaging in conversations, you network, you outreach. On ground, some of these communities are coming up. Network Capital is a great community. Of course, Rotary and Toastmasters have their own, what they are there for specific. Toastmasters is excellent for communication and shaping you to be a public person. If you're a social entrepreneur working in the government space, a lot of times you have to address villagers and stuff. So Toastmasters is great to work on your, speaking skills. And then, what I am seeing is, of course, these are different type of social entrepreneurs out there. And these are some of the way that you can survive with your revenue or grants or charity, whichever way it is. What I'm seeing though more is a lot of people are doing both. A lot of people are setting up a for-profit and a non-profit. So either they set up a for-profit first, either they set up a non-profit, but they also have both models. That we are seeing a lot. People are not doing Section 8 as much because there are a lot of restrictions that come later. There is some limitations. Even I don't know the whole thing, but I've got friends that are telling me that about 25 lakhs, there is some issues. There's only so much grant versus revenue you can, there's some portions for it. So what I'm seeing is a lot of people are setting up actually a full for-profit enterprise and a not-profit so they can diversify their sources of income. You can go at the CSR, you can go at the grants and the charity space, and you can also go at your revenue paying customers. So that is something that I'm seeing, quite a bit in the Jagriti Yatra ecosystem where a lot of entrepreneurs are setting up. Of course, there is some, compliance cost and CA cost and all that. But, looking back, I wish I had set it up. I had set up a LLP, which is a partnership. I wish I had set the NGO, because if you set an NGO, it takes 3 years for you to get recognition, for anybody to work with you like Tata Trust or a government, because they keep asking for 3 years of statements. I didn't do that. I was pretty adamant that I'm not going to do an NGO. I want to be a for-profit. I had some philosophy at that time. So that's a learning for me, that I have to have both options, especially the space I'm working in, especially the people I'm dealing with, especially the government. The government seems to be more, open to working with non-profits. So some of the social impact area that I work is agriculture. So some of the social impact enterprises I thought I'll list, which have, for-profit. There is then Goat Trust, which is in Lucknow. The guy has done both. He's got a for-profit and a non-profit. Jal Jivika in Pune, Neelkant is there. He's doing the fisheries sector. He's got a for-profit arm and a non-profit arm. All the ones in blue, they're all for-profit. And you'd be surprised. You would think agriculture, you need a lot of non-profits. That's not the case. There are for-profits doing, and they're doing very good. All the ones that I've listed have had some share of success. All the ones that I've listed also have some stages of funding thereon. One of the big successful ones is Sayadri Farms in Nashik here, which is, they've organized farmers into a farmer-producer company, and they're doing excellent. That is probably, along the whole list, they're probably the, the most successful right now, generating the maximum amount of money and creating value for their farmers. But Goat Trust saying that, Sanjeev Kumar has worked for 10 years or more, long time, doing the NGO part, now he's going in a for-profit journey. So there are dual models there. People have to find the way what works for them in their sector and the problem statements that they are trying to solve. And if you can diversify your income, that helps a long way in going sustainable. So that, so this is, I just put a window into that. The roles what we play in the social sector, what I see is, I'm in agriculture, I'm an entrepreneur, I say I'm a social entrepreneur, right? But I do see, I'm involved in a lot of, things that drag me into activism actually. So how do you separate out activism versus entrepreneurship? When I say activism, it's like, I work with villagers. There's a genetically modified issue going on, GMO foods going on now. Farmers are planting, illegally they're planting because they want access to technology. So I'm drawn into these issues because I'm in that village, and people really want, there are people that want genetically modified seeds. There are people that want to stick with organic. They feel that you can't marry the two because there's contamination. So there is some amount of activism that, creeps in. Okay, so this is one of the roles that a social entrepreneur always gets challenged. There are different roles, different hats that come. And why I say this is because, how do you manage your time? How do you say that I don't want to give that much time to this? I want to work on my focus, but you just get drawn into it. Like I work with the government refuses to give me data. Somebody's like, file an RTI. So now I have to become an RTI activist because I have to file an RTI and think of all those things, what goes with the RTI. I don't want to piss off somebody, but I get into that mode. Then somebody's like, hey, you know so much about the sector. Why don't you start writing policy documents? Try to be a think tank. Write to the minister. The minister is wanting some input into how farmer producer companies can get credit without collateral. They're like, that you work with farmer producers. Why don't you write like a white paper? Why don't you write like a media article? So you sort of become a policy influencer as well, along with what you're supposed to do as an entrepreneur. And then when you're in a village, people are like, oh, you know so much. Advise me on this. Counsel me on this. mediate my issue with that. So there are a lot of hats and a social entrepreneur plays, and they can't say no. But what I feel is the whole time allocation, and the effort allocation has to be thought about strategically, because I'm finding a lot of young people get carried away. A lot of young people are getting carried away as activists because, they narebazi lagana, jagah street mein. But, more work needs to be done on policy, and we are finding serious leadership issues in the agriculture sector. There are no young people. They're all getting into activism. Nobody is writing policy documents which will influence government, which will influence people going towards making laws for it. But people want to take the banner and go on the street and start protesting immediately. So that is something we are finding. And then how you as an entrepreneur in the agriculture space, in the health space, balance that out. Especially your focus, your problem statements that you're trying to solve, you get drawn into one of these things always. Anybody in a village, anybody in this space in agriculture, healthcare, food will get drawn into some of this. And my point with this slide was, be aware of that, allocate your time strategically, don't get carried away. And I see a lot of kids getting carried away. So that is one of the, I put it. Jagriti Yatra, we already saw, this is where my idea was born. I met a lot of people from rural India. I was really passionate about agriculture, and it was a slow evolving idea. It didn't, happen overnight. And so in agriculture, once you say that, okay, I'm passionate about agriculture, I want to do something, you look at the entire value chain in agriculture. And then you say, okay, where do I find the problem statement? There's so many things going on in agriculture. I'm passionate to do something. I want to do something. So then you list out, where do I do? I did a village immersion. I was there 6 months in a village in Nashik. I lived in a village trying to find out, where I can fit. What do I want to do? What do I feel passionate about? I live in Vashi, Navi Mumbai, which is near the biggest APMC market in Mumbai. I looked at the, the trading that goes on there. I said, what can I do there with my skill set of being an IT guy? So my background is engineering and IT. And I said, what can I do? So I lived in the village, and then I was really passionate about, certain things that I said, I want to educate the farmer. I want to make him aware that the spraying of pesticides that he does, which he's doing bare chested, no gloves, no protection, they don't know anything. So I became passionate about that. I said, I want to make the farmers aware. And mind you, this was 2011, before WhatsApp came, before Geo came. So connectivity was still an issue. So I said, I want to make farmers, and I want to make aware farmers what's going on, what's happening around them. So I said, okay, I'm going to work on the farmer extension and advisory portion of this. That's the most passionate I feel about. I can't do anything about the market at that time because APMC, everything is under the table. You don't know what prices is going on. You can't do anything about that. And the prices they report to the government in something called ag market, it's all fake data. So even everybody is consuming that fake data and putting it on the newspapers and the news, but those prices are not realistic, and the prices vary every day depending on how many trucks come. It's crazy. It's a mess. So I said I want to focus on extension because that is something I feel I can control, and with my skills I bring in, I can do that. Then once you do the extension, then you say, okay, within that, what information sets are there? How does farm extension work? How do you, inform farmers, teach farmers? How do you make them aware of things going on? So you pick certain information sets within that. So I said, I'll pick schemes. I said, let me make them aware of all the government schemes that are there. And so that is where the focus for Shekru was, getting solidified. So I said, I want to do an app. I was a techie at that time. Apps were new. There was no, WhatsApp. So I felt I want to do something like a website and an app, very, starting at that time. And schemes were all over the place. So the mission for Shekru that has, been solidified over the last 8 years, that we want to better awareness of what is going on in agriculture, and then slowly it's moved to food and health, and I'll give you the reasons why health came in the picture later. And I said I want to work in Maharashtra only. As Revati said, every state is different, and we want to be in vernacular. We want to reach the farmers because that is their language. So we wanted to do Marathi. So the app is in Marathi. What we wanted to do, everything was in Marathi, and we want to reach that audience, the rural audience. So we have to be in Marathi. So I said, let me draw the boundary. I don't want to appeal to the entire country. Screw scale. I'll focus on this state, and I'll just do it for that. And agriculture was the focus. Food and health has crept in lately because there's some synergy between all of that. Farmers have health issues. So anyway, so I'll come to that later, but that is our mission, what we do with Shekru. At the moment, like I said, it's an app. Sector focus is agriculture, food and health, we are getting there. What are the information sets? I said all the events that are happening, there are stakeholders conducting events. There are 200 events being conducted by one stakeholder called a Krishi Vigyan Kendra, which is in a district. Every district has a Krishi Vigyan Kendra. The setup is there, but half of them are not doing it, half of them are faking data, half of them are getting the money from the government and not just sitting there earning salaries and just going home. So we said we want to create awareness of what is going on. The melas, Krishi melas are going on, workshops are going on, trainings are going on. So we want to create one place, a portal where everything comes together. So schemes is the other data set that we looked at, the information set. And voices was, lately we added, we said the Pradhan Mantri is doing Man Ki Baat, we want everybody to do their Man Ki Baat. So like all the scientists should do Mann Ki Baat, the progressive farmers should do Mann Ki Baat, share their knowledge, and then now with health, all the psychological counselors could talk about it. So, we're looking at different information sets. The focus is Maharashtra, so the entire app is in English and Marathi. So this is how the app looks, and we've got Karikram that is in Marathi, so I just showed you different screens here. And we're just giving the basic information, the first step. So, the farmer has to go to the taluka head office, goes back and forth, bring this document, bring that, bring this, and he's making countless trips. We're saying that with this information, everything is structured and curated, and he can know before he goes there, he or she can know, so that saves him a lot of time. So that is the first step in awareness of farmers, that they have all this information right at their hands. So the problems we were addressing was, again, after WhatsApp came, I call these disruptions that happened through our journey. First, WhatsApp came. Everybody wanted to be on WhatsApp. Everybody still wants to be on WhatsApp. Then Geo came. Geo totally, overnight changed the whole paradigm as far as internet access was. Everybody got free bandwidth, 1 GB. And it is still a disruption. The guy who works for me, we wrote to the chief minister to get a telephone, tower. For 2 years, we wrote to BSNL, we wrote to Fadnavis, we tweeted everything. And overnight, just Geo puts a tower, and overnight, the whole thing is changed. He's got broadband sitting at his house, cows outside, so it's a dramatic disruption that is happening out there. Why I'm saying that is because there's so many avenues now for the farmer to access. There's WhatsApp, there's social media, all of them are coming to Facebook, Telegram, and they all have jumped to video now. So we were doing audio, but everybody bypassed the audio thing and went to video. Because 1 GB free, everybody is watching video, and everybody wants everything in WhatsApp, everybody wants everything in video format. They don't want to come to your app. They say that. They say, WhatsApp, aapka app kyun aana hai? WhatsApp mein de do. So then it's like, so we have to tell them, look, our value proposition still holds. We are still curating the data, we're structuring it, we're organizing it. There is a value for that. Because if you look at WhatsApp or if you look at Telegram, it's like a symbol, a stock ticker symbol that is just, the data is just going up. It's just cluttered. So there is no structured and organized, data where it's curated. So we say that's the value proposition we have as an app still, that we feel it's relevant. And even with Geo coming, the offline story is totally neglected. There are a lot of apps that you can see now. When you go to a dark site or a site where there's no internet, your app just falls apart. So the design from the start for us, the design criteria was, let's design it for offline, because we know we're going to be in villages, people want to access our information, they may not have internet. So I'm just saying about a couple of problems that we are addressing through this. So the traction, this is the traction we've got. This is where all Shekru has been downloaded from. Obviously, we are targeting only Maharashtra. Been alive for 3 years, and just word of mouth, since we are bootstrapped, we don't have money. So, just with word of mouth, that's far we have come. And, one of the points I'll address later, this is a long-term commitment. This is a 30, 40-year journey, I see it. Because in agriculture and healthcare, things move very slowly. And we know we are in rural India. We know the smartphone penetration. The female smartphone penetration, if you cross the age group of 24, is still in the single digits. And it is going to be that for some time. So the age group that is getting higher smartphone penetration is 18 to 25, the college growing crowd. But once you cross the 25 age barrier, the male smartphone, adoption is higher than the female one, obviously. But there is also a lot of skewed gender things going on. Even if the female gets a smartphone, patriarchal families don't limit access to her. They don't get access. So we are on a long journey. We are on 30 to 40 year time frame. And at that point I decided that, listen, this is my cause. This is my passion. I'm going to do this for 30 to 40 years. So let me plan that. I'm not in a, like a crazy, IPO mode or some kids running around saying, I want to throw tech at this and tomorrow get a buyout or exit or anything of that. Because once you get to the social sector, you have to prepare for a long journey. And that is obvious when you look at agriculture, when you go to a village and sit and things move slowly. So that was, I look at it saying that word of mouth, we have come so far. Now we have to take a leap, of course. We have to reach more people. But this is what we have achieved so far. Like I said, informally, the idea came from Jagriti Yatra in 2001. Formally, we set up an LLP, but I'm going towards an NGO now because NGO seems to have more traction. It has been bootstrapped. I've spent about 10 lakhs over the 9 years. That has come from personal savings. And because I strongly believed in it, and bootstrapped, I work part-time to make money. In that way, it is more spread out, more slower. I know I'm going to do it for 35 years. So, pace it. 35K is a monthly burn rate because I've got two farmers that are working for me sitting in remote India, which is cheaper to afford them. But of course, we have to scale. We have to reach more. We have to include more functionality. So obviously all that is going to cost money. So I'm at that stage where I'm saying that I'm going to seriously start applying for grants. I'm going to, find an incubation center, go in that direction. and find a little more solid sustainability to this than being bootstrapped, because bootstrapped is only for a short time to launch it and get traction. So unlike Revati here, who's got so much traction and everything, this is a good contrast for you, from where my journey is. And so the future, I'm looking at additional information sets. We want to be in that extension area. So we look at advisories, we'll add directories. Obviously we have to go to video, but YouTube is a jungle. So we'll curate it, we'll structure it, we'll organize the data. Then, personalization and contextualization is very important. The farmer sitting in Parbani wants to see only what is relevant to him. He doesn't want everything, right? So we have to personalize the data to the farmer, him or her, and then contextualize it as well. This is Kharif season. This is a planting season. I only plant this crop during this time. So only show me what are the issues for this season. Don't show me everything. So that is contextualizing it. So that is very, very important. And then the on-ground center. An app will be an app any day. Okay, an on-ground center is where we need to be, because that is the real impact of us talking to our beneficiaries, helping people. So we are thinking we'll set up an on-ground center and we're going to do it next week and see if we can do some kind of revenue generation through that. Charge for our services, maybe do some helping them with, enrolling with schemes, conducting some health camps or wellness sessions, mental health for farmers. So these are some of the ideas that are floating around. We want to proof it. We want to see that if people are willing to pay for that, and that way we can see if there's any income source for Shekru. So my learnings, like I said, long-term sector commitment, because I'm in agriculture and healthcare. I know I'm going to do this for 40 years. Then patience with government. I mean, crazy stories like, just going back and forth from Mantralaya, they keep calling you back, forth. And then fisheries was like, went to fisheries, the guy's like, Reliance Foundation was here, they're giving a free phone, what are you giving? So I'm like, okay, I can't give, they can give a free phone, they can sell the data plan. So, that kind of attitude is very troublesome. And they sat on for 100 schemes they have from Blue Revolution. The Pradhan Mantri released, for fisheries in 2014, 100 schemes. They sat on it, they don't have a website guy, they just sat on it and they won't give it to us. And this year in May, they released a booklet after 4 years after the schemes were released. And you can imagine why schemes information is not going to anybody down. The government does it, but the bureaucrats hold it. And absurd things they say is just incredible. So, you have a lot of patience, you have to keep going, and that is very dragging, to be honest with you. Sitting in the corridors, going back home, coming back next day, and just going nowhere is just very, very dragging. So we have tried all sorts of tricks, we are still working on it, we'll see. So that is one of the reasons why I said going to an incubator is useful, because incubators could make those connections. Some incubators have those connections, and some you can see obviously they're helping their, startups. Impact measurement is very key for us to plan ahead, because everybody asks us that, what is your impact? And so for us, the question is, how do we quantify our impact? Because we are just the first step. We are not processing anybody's schemes or helping them enroll and then making them beneficiaries. So impact is very key for us. Finding team members. These days, every startup is trying to find people and they're not able to find, good quality team members or co-founders. Is incredibly difficult. And then, like I said, on-ground presence, we're going to do it. And then the focus, I want to talk about the focus, because like I said, you play different roles. There are so many data sets for you to look at, so many information that you can look at to see what service you can provide. So how do you focus? And that is one of the challenges, I see in me as well, and a lot of other my friends who are doing their startups. How do you focus when everything looks attractive, when anything you do will create an impact? There is so much to do, and there is anything you do will create an impact. So what is the focus? How do you define your focus and not get distracted? And that leads to also time planning. How, with different roles, how do you plan, time, and what is the outcome you want from the different roles you play? If you're an activist, what role do you want? What outcome do you want? If you're an RTI activist, or if you're a policy influencer, maybe when you influence policy, you're building your brand. You write policy papers in media or wherever, you're building your brand, and that helps your venture as well in turn. So, you have to build your personal brand. So that way you do some more, thought pieces, like a policy influencer, like write a white paper. So, how do you plan your time? So that is one of the learnings. Last one is health. And what I've seen is this is the most neglected among entrepreneurs, and through a personal journey as well, where I've gone. See, the productivity of any entrepreneur is on their health, and health is the last thing on their mind. They're young, they want to go everywhere, so they eat anything, they eat stuff outside, they fall sick, and I have met so many of them, and including I have my own experience of falling sick. The productivity is extremely bad because of health. So that is one of my pet peeves. When I meet everybody, I try to say that you have to take care of your health, because if you want to create impact, the impact that you want to do over your lifetime, you have to be healthy for it. I know so many people that will fall dead tomorrow because they're working so hard and they're all over the place in rural India and they're eating shit and they just are in a bad shape. because they don't care about their health. So this has to be a priority for everybody, that what I eat, you have to be careful. What water you drink, because you have to survive to make the impact. If you start saying that I'll do anything and everything, you won't survive, then what's the point? Then what's the point of all the work you've done? What's the point of the passion you bring? And what's the point of, what you want to do? Because you're not healthy, your productivity is bad. And, I say that to all the entrepreneurs, have a 5 lakh cash fund as an emergency fund for health. And having a health insurance as well, even if it's a catastrophic health insurance plan, have one. Because I've been through it with my mother. Like, we had so much health issues that you need cash. None of the health insurance covers it. There's a lot of fine print. So I tell all the entrepreneurs that get a health insurance and have 5 lakhs. And it's hard because you're starting young. You may not have that much money, but you have to build up to it, because this is a reality. You have to have money. I mean, I have people who are extremely good social entrepreneurs sitting in villages, and they're so poor that they can't feed themselves. They want to do good. I want to make 10 organic farmers. But you know what? I don't have any money with me. How am I going to do it? The passion is there, but then they're not able to make money. So maybe you delay your entrepreneurship dream till you have some, fund as an emergency fund. Maybe you delay your entrepreneurship, or you may go in a different format, like a bootstrap, like I'm doing. You go slower, you have that money, you work somewhere, get that financial security. So, this has to be very careful for a social entrepreneur, because a lot of them I see are going with their passion and with no fund, and if something emergency happens, then they're done. And all their dreams die, their passion, everything done. All the impact that they've achieved so far has done, because they're not thinking of their health. And this is something I would like to close on, because I'm really passionate about health, and that is why health is also coming into Shekru, because farmers, they're committing suicide. So mental health is something that is for everybody. It's not for farmers alone. Even people in the cities are under stress. People in rural India are in stress. So, that is why I'm passionate about health, and that is where I want to end it. So that is my end for Shekru. Thank you.